Keyword, the locker room.
How you make this, Jay?
Welcome back to the locker room, Fuut Goals edition. I will be covering a recap of the Premier League over this past weekend, the first weekend back since the passing of the Queen, and the game's results and some of the other things that happened. One of the things that happened the second week in a row for some teams, they faced canceled games, such as Brighton versus Crystal Palace, Manchester versus Leeds, Manchester United versus Leeds United, and Chelsea versus Liverpool. Have an article here that's going to kind of shed light on the reason for some of these cancelings. So Manchester versus Leeds was postponed, and it was one of those things that caught people, a little bit off guard, again, after the first week. But the reason behind this was, let's see here on the article, it says, following the extensive conversation with the Premier League, Greater Manchester Police, and Trafford Council, the decision has been made to postpone Manchester United's Premier League fixture against Leeds, scheduled to take place at Old Trafford on Sunday the 18th of September, and this is due to the Greater Manchester Police supporting forces across the United Kingdom allocation and events of high significance following the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The club reiterates that the safety and security of our fans is paramount, and after considering all available options, we are supportive of the decision that was made in conjunction with the relevant authorities. So apparently the reason for the cancellation was something as simple as not having enough security for the fans at the stadium. And this seems to be the trend across the games that were canceled. And it's one of those things that, obviously the country is going through a moment, and the moment is greater than the game for them at this point. These police organizations that have to help across multiple different areas has hindered the ability for the stadiums to hold themselves accountable for the safety of the players, the fans, and everybody around. So they decided to cancel those 3 games. But some of the games did go on. So some games did go on this past weekend after those cancellations. You had Sevilla versus Southampton. Let's take a look at that game. Southampton was definitely upset with the scenario. I mean, it did find opportunities to try to counter and get a goal, but that particular goal was allowed. In my opinion, I think it was the right call. At no point did the player get in the way of the goalie recovering to make that next save. And, I mean, it was a fantastic first save on the header. The second attempt to possibly grab the ball or react to the ball coming down, unfortunately hit the crossbar, which threw the goaltender's reaction off, landing right on the foot of Ramsey, who buried it. I think it was a solid call, solid no call. They did VAR review it, and it was allowed. But after that, I mean, Aston Villa kept putting pressure on. Southampton found very little to really capitalize on. They had very few and far opportunities in between throughout the game, and it was a very hard-fought game for both teams. Aston Villa needed this win very badly. Southampton needed to pull something out. They weren't able to get anything. Very unfortunate, but it's one of those situations that you find yourself in, unfortunately, at this time of the season, trying to grind out a win. And Aston Villa, good job. Southampton need to learn how to capitalize on their opportunities. But sometimes, it isn't your day, and this just looked like it wasn't Southampton's day. Another game that took place was Nottingham versus Fulham. And let's take a look at the details here. Nottingham scored first. It looked like they may have success early. They were able to come away with the goal. After that, the first half was a very hard-fought battle, but Fulham definitely had more control of the ball, throughout the majority of that. But then the second half came in. They reset, their plays and what they were going to do. They came into the second half with a purpose, and it didn't take them long to strike. 54th minute, they got a header goal off a corner set play. 3 minutes after that, Paulinho came in and got a massive strike from outside the box. It was pretty hard for a goaltender to stop. Had a lot of pace to it, a lot of power to it. And then again in the 60th minute, 3 minutes after that, Reed was able to bury one. But what was most impressive about Fulham, it seems that they were able to find their way off the ball. So they had guys that were moving the ball, but the most important part of the play were the guys moving off the ball. It was attack after attack. Nottingham Forest found it difficult. They were able to score a goal later in the 77th minute, but again, it was really the play off the ball for Fulham that made them successful. If they have the quality, they have the quality to really play off the ball really well. So with the players that they had in there and the shot abilities of their midfielders as they come in, if they can harness this type of energy and this type of play, it will become a staple for them to continue to progress and move forward. Obviously a great game for Fulham. Nottingham fell a bit short. Obviously, we're missing key players. Some players didn't start. Jesse Lingard came in later on around the 63rd minute. No Coyote and no Aurier. Again, it makes it difficult when you build a team with key pieces, and these key pieces aren't able to start or effectively play. And with Coyote not playing, it makes it difficult for Nottingham Forest to really control the middle of the game. The middle of the field for any team is very important. And with that quality not there, it just makes it really difficult for them to really be able to do anything at all when it comes to the offensive side, controlling any parts of the game. They were able to get 2 goals, but it's one of those things that if you can't control that middle, or at least play the ball where you can control it, you're going to suffer a lot in the Premier League. Unfortunate for Nottingham Forest, and fortunate for Fulham. Fulham got the win. 3-2 was the score, but the score is definitely misleading. It was definitely a Fulham control game, overwhelming for Nottingham. So, pardon me. So yeah, it showed very well for Fulham. They look really good. They look like they can stay in the middle of the pack when it comes to the Premier League, which is a good place for them if they can maintain that same type of play throughout the season and continuously win. They should stay in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest, on the other hand, they've had a very big struggle outside of the first day of the season. They really need to find a foothold to hold on to, because right now they're just sinking on all sides. yeah, they have a few bright lights here or there, but you need more than just a few bright lights. You need to be able to come to the field, come to the pitch every day, and really perform well. Right now, they're underperforming with the type of quality that they do have. Obviously, some of the quality is missing, which makes it difficult. So, hoping that this international break that's coming up allows their players to heal up properly, or for them to really be able to get together and strategize well. For Fulham, William looked like the old William, right? He was able to create off the wing, and you know, perform his magic on the side to help open up the field. Um, again, for Fulham, it was really the movement off the ball that created their chances and created their pressure, which was a really good testament to their coaching strategy. For Fulham, again, it was a great performance. Nottingham, once again, their coaching staff needs to reevaluate the players that they currently have on the field and make better decisions on the type of game they want to play in order to be successful. Because right now, playing defensively, trying to counter, is not going to be something that they're going to be able to sustain to stay in the Premier League for the rest of the season. But let's see how it all plays out for them. On Saturday, Man City versus the Wolves. Let's see how that turned out. 3-0. I mean, for Manchester City, this is supposed to be a win with the amount of quality that they have on that team. For the Wolves, it was one of those games that, they had already lost control of by the 33rd minute, where they got a red card. But when you have a team like Manchester City, I mean, that was just blood in the water. They were already up 2-0. As you can see here, by the 72nd minute, they knew they had full control of the game. They had already scored another goal. They were up 3-0. Decided to kind of empty out the benches, let some guys get some rest, get some other guys some more action, just to get in the game and, just get some minutes and really play out the rest. But for the Wolves, it was unfortunate. They looked very shaky from the beginning. It was just not a good situation for them. Once the red card hit, the game was already over. At that point, Man City had definitely been playing with the ball around them, and they were not able to really get a grasp on the game. It was a poor performance for the Wolves. Man City did exactly what Man City had to do. Performed well, a lot of pressure. Just 3 goals. I mean, honestly, I think they definitely could have scored more. They should have scored more. But I mean, let's face it, Manchester City is the team to beat in the Premier League. They are the reigning champions. They are the team that has probably the best quality across the board, and they have depth to their team. So, I mean, you look at everything that was done here, and you could just see it was just complete outclass by Man City to the Wolves. Not much else to say there. Again, the Wolves just seemed out of their league when it came to playing Manchester City. The Wolves definitely need to find a foothold in their game if they hope to stay in the Premier League. They have been struggling mightily over the past couple of weeks, and if they don't get it soon, they will be in the relegation zone at the end of the season. Another fixture that took place was Newcastle versus Bournemouth, and it was an action-packed game. I know it's a 1-1 game, but both teams came out firing. Both teams missed a lot of opportunities. It took a bit of magic for Bournemouth to get that goal to take the lead on the 62nd minute. Unfortunately for Newcastle, later on they gave away a penalty. They received They got a foul against them for handball. The player's hands move unnaturally to the body when trying to block it inside the box. It led to a penalty, which Isak was able to bury. And even when they were looking to see who was going to take the penalty, there was a little bit of a confrontation between teammates. Isak was approached by one of his teammates that wanted to take the penalty kick, but he did not relinquish his spot on the dot. And he was able to successfully bury the penalty, which tied the game. But for the most part, it was a very back and forth game. I mean, it could have honestly gone either way. Christie looked extremely dangerous throughout the entire game. His movement with the ball, off the ball, and creating for his team was definitely one of those performances that you look at and you're very proud of. Their upfront guys definitely did their job. They played a role in everything, including the goal. It was unfortunate for them that they did give up the penalty that tied the game, and that's where the game ended. But Newcastle, I think, created an equal amount of chances. Bournemouth may have controlled the game a little bit more, a slight edge, but at the end of the day, it was a very entertaining game. Both teams had quality chances. Neither one of them were able to really finish the other ones besides the ones that they did. All the other chances kind of went to waste. So it was one of those games that, it teeter-tottered both ways, and it was a draw. I mean, when both teams are playing well, you expect a draw or for some type of magic to happen. Again, Bournemouth found that magic, and Newcastle got lucky to tie it and come away with a point. With both of those teams towards the tail end of the middle of the table, they both needed the points, but it was definitely a very good game to watch. It was very entertaining for their scoring chances, their defensive plays, some of the goaltending on there. Neto stood on his head at times. Again, it's a game that Bournemouth should have won, but this is why we play the game, right? It's to see what happens and what you can do. Tottenham versus Leicester City. 6-2 was the outcome. I mean, you look at the numbers here. Great play from almost everybody on Tottenham. Some key good plays from some of the guys on Leicester. It was a close game early, but after that, Song took over. I mean, it's just one of those things. Tottenham has so much quality. It's always upsetting to see them have this much quality and always just fall short of being competitive for the title. They are one of the most overrated, underrated teams. And what I mean by that is they have the quality to play, and fight for the title against Man City. It just doesn't always come together for them. Somehow, somewhere, it always falls apart for them somewhere during the season. I mean, they're doing well this season, and they're looking good. Song is playing well. Kane is playing well. You shot yourself in the foot, Leicester. I mean, you have to be able to cover him. Him and Kane, you know that those are the guys that are going to lead the point and attack. You can't give them this much space. You give them that much space, they're going to bury it on you every single time. And Leicester, I mean, I'm sorry. You guys are falling apart. You guys, yes, Schmeichel is no longer there. You have a different goalkeeper. And I really think it's playing a big factor in what you think you can do defensively. That's a shot that Schmeichel may have saved because he was really good at reading shots from far and being able to stop a lot of them. And now your current goalkeeper, I mean, it's just not the same. Ward tried. It's just you lose a quality goaltender, and then you have an okay goaltender. It doesn't translate well. It's bad. It's you guys are going to suffer a lot in a scenario like this season. If your goaltending doesn't step up and start playing better, it's just going to be a long, horrible season. I don't think you'll get relegated, but I definitely think that you'll be towards the bottom end of the table. And that's sad because you guys have worked really hard to stay in the Premier League, stay competitive. You have some players that have really good quality in Tillman and Madison. Your back end needs some work. Maybe look to make a mid-season transfer in January when the transfer window opens. But yeah, it's hard to swallow for Leicester City fans. It just seems like that the team is underperforming. They seem a little discombobulated. They find pieces of magic that give you hope, and then they just let you down. As far as the Spurs, I mean, again, they're one of those teams that have the quality to compete for the title, and it looks like it's coming together. The question is, how long will it stay together? Unfortunately for them, they tend to always do really good at the beginning, then they disappear towards the middle, and then they make a good run towards the end. But with the international break, and then a few weeks after that, you have the World Cup. Can your players still maintain what they've started, the good football that they're playing now? We'll have to see. But as far as how they performed in this game, controlled, dominated, they did everything they're supposed to do, and the quality between the two teams definitely showed. Your goaltender played amazing. He made some incredible stops. There again, Leicester City missed a couple of really good opportunities to take the lead, to even tie it around 3-3, and they just could not bury it. After that, it was a Son show. Son just took over the game, did amazing. Again, he can score from far, he can score from close, and in this game, he scored with his right foot and his left foot. He got a brace for the team that really put them over the top to make this an easy win for them. And it's unfortunate for Leicester City to see them falling apart the way they are. I hope that they can ground themselves and restructure their balance. I think they have some good pieces to be a little bit more competitive than this, but their defense and goaltending definitely need to be addressed by the middle of the season's transfer window. Otherwise, it's just going to be another long season that is not going to bode well for the club or for the fans. For Tottenham, you guys are playing well. You guys look to have found your structure that will lead you to success, and all you have to do is maintain it. If they can maintain this, they're gonna be in a very good place to be in the top four and contending for the title. Another game that took place on Sunday, on Sunday, was Brentford versus Arsenal. Scoreline 3-0 Arsenal. Arsenal's been on top of the league. They've played very well this season. And as you can see here, just by the events that happened, they took control of this game very early. One of the more impressive things about what makes Arsenal successful right now is something that they used to lack. They were a very straight, up and down the pitch team before. Now, with the quality of players that they have, bringing the Jesus, Martini, and Saka, they are they're definitely finding a lot more movement off the ball. And I think I've said it quite a few times. Having players that can move off the ball will create so many more chances for your team. They have quality. They have a system that works even where they may not be as good as other teams like Man City, but they're finding a way to really mix it up, not leaving their weak sides open. The only real letdown for them was when they lost to Manchester United. This game, they dominated the entire game. It was one of those games that Arsenal fans definitely appreciate. They wanted to see. They knew, hey, we have the quality. Let's go out there and just show it. And boy, did they! Everybody was part of the play. Everybody contributed. Everybody was helping with the movement from the back end to the front. It was very rare when the ball was ever really in the Arsenal defensive end for too long. They were able to get the ball out, clear it out. But I mean, this is a game that Arsenal is supposed to win. With the type of quality that they have, they're supposed to win these games. And honestly, I'm a Manchester United fan, but even coming into the season, as I looked at their roster, I saw some things that made me excited for good football. And they are showing their quality now with their whole team. Whether it's in the midfield, whether it's breaking out on the wings, whether it's something that they haven't had for a little bit, which was the aerial threat. Jesus is not a tall man, but he knows how to climb the ladder in the air and get his head on different balls. So they are doing what they're supposed to do. For Brentford, I mean, it's a bit tough. You came up, you have a squad that may not be really ready for this level of play in the Premier League. I don't think they have the quality to be super aggressive. I think they can take advantage of maybe some of the countering in their game, but they don't seem to be ready to be playing at this level so much. They're gonna be close to the relegation zone by the end of the season, in my opinion. I think that it's gonna be just too much for them. They have a few guys that have played in the Premier League and probably know the troubles and what it takes to be here. But unfortunately, as a whole group, they're just going to struggle. They unless they make some moves going into the transfer window in January, they are definitely going to end up in the relegation zone or at least close to it. It's very tough. It's very tough to compete when you have all these other teams that have so much quality. And granted, the teams that are towards the bottom, I mean, you have to either find really good chemistry, or you gotta make a bid where you become relevant and make players want to come and play for you, so that you can increase the quality of your team and continue going. But that all has to start with the coaching situation. Now, I'm not saying fire the coach or anything like that, but I'm saying there needs to be a different conversation when it comes to the structure. Obviously, this 3-5-2 that they tried to play is not the way to go. Maybe a solid 4 where you have 4 guys that are dedicated to staying in the back and maybe 2 guys in front of them. That may help you out, because that'll make 6 people that can help you defend, and then kind of work on a counter from there with some of the speed that you have up front. But the way you're playing right now, it's hard to see you staying in the Prem this year. So it unfortunate for Brentford fans. It's going to be another long season. It's going to take a lot to see this team turn around. But they are fighters. That's a good thing. They are fighters. So if they can fight, they can get a couple of more wins, but it won't change the outcome of their season. Arsenal, great job utilizing your entire field, your players, your bench. The game plan is really showing, even with the exchange of some of the players coming in or out. It bodes very well for you guys in the long run. And I think that Arsenal will be towards the top 5. If they can keep this form, they can challenge for the title. I really believe that the title race may literally be Arsenal, Man City, Tottenham. Those are the ones that look like they belong on top right now. Manchester United is making a bid for their place in the top four, but I mean, it's going to be a very tough one that you really need to pay attention to. It's very difficult, and it's going to be about Arsenal's consistency, which is where they have struggled for a very long time. They've always had really good teams and quality players, but they just have really rarely ever been able to put it together for an entire season. So great job in this game for Arsenal and their fans. I hope to see them stay competitive and continue to stay on top and challenge for the title. But with their track record, it's one of those that everybody, including their fans, are just sitting down waiting to see when the bottom's going to fall off, because again, that's just been their track record. And the last game that took place was Everton versus West Ham. Now, let's take a look at the stats. This game was entertaining. Both teams were creating chances, but the goaltending for both sides held strong. I mean, it was just one of those that it literally was just a 1-goal game. It was one of those situations where Iobi, he played the way that people thought he would be playing his entire career. He showed why he was one of those top prospects many years ago. I mean, he disappeared. He had a few injuries here and there, but there was always I feel like a lack of commitment when it came to him. Everybody just didn't see him playing as well, things like that. And you know, when Everton picked him up, they didn't. Nobody really said, "Oh wow, they got Iobi." I mean, he played all right when he played for, I believe it was Arsenal last season. Let me double check that for you. I apologize. I know he played for Arsenal. Just trying to remember exactly how far back. Oh, he played for Liverpool. I apologize for that. He played for Liverpool, and you know, he played okay, but it wasn't earth shattering. It wasn't one of those situations where he was like, okay, a key instrumental part of how the team flowed, things like that. He's been here at Everton, and every game he seems to own and control the ball very well. He's become a very key component to their midfield and how the offense runs through him. He normally is very good at pressing the play, creating chances for himself and for his teammates. It's good to see his lively legs right now. You know, so he definitely helped contribute to the goal that led to them winning the game. I think they're finding their way now. They're beginning to find their way. They sit 13th on the table, and I'm not saying that this is where it all turns around for them, right? Because we now run into an international break, but I think that this gives you a glimpse of looking to get a foothold and staying in the Premier League, right? Because they've been sitting towards the bottom for the entire season so far, and to have them start finding a way to get up here, so it's good to see. It's very good to see them playing with passion, fighting a way. Mupai finally becoming effective. He kind of looked lost before. Gray got substituted around the 81st minute, but there was a part earlier in the game where he had gone down and he looked like he had a little bit of an injury. I mean, he played through it. He played well. I'm hoping that doesn't affect him, you know, going into the international break, and hopefully not after. I hope that that he stays healthy. But I think that they're finally starting to, you know, look at the possibilities of saying, hey, we can be more competitive and really, you know, make a claim to stay here in the Premier League and try to get into the top of the middle of the table. So for them, it was a good showing. They pretty much had decent control of the game, but West Ham did have a few opportunities. They just couldn't find that last pass, to really get it in there. There was a few that Begovic was able to stop, but overall it was a very hard fought game. Not much after that. Again, Iobi was the most noticeable player throughout the whole game. He was explosive on his runs. He found the open space. He created multiple opportunities, again, for his teammates and for himself. Obviously, Mupai was able to cash in on one of those. So it was good to see for Everton, starting to really find their shape overall. For West Ham, another disappointing game. They fall further into the relegation zone. It's not looking good for them. I mean, they have some quality players. They thought they would be able to be competitive where they would be sitting mid-table by this point. But unfortunately, they're sitting at the bottom of the table at 18th place. And that's not good for them, the club, their fans. It's a tough one. It's a very tough situation to be in. With people like Antonio, Bowen, Zuma, these are guys that have always helped their team be competitive. And it's just not happening for them this season. It's gonna be a rough road. And if they don't cultivate something to really kickstart their team play, it's just gonna fall apart for them. And it's very unfortunate for those type of players that have quality to be in the Premier League, and being in a team where the system isn't working, where the quality of players isn't helping the overall either. Even Rice is another great player. He's had multiple opportunities to leave the club. A lot of offers. Obviously, they didn't sell him, but I know that deep down, this is one of those situations where he has to really take a look and say, do I still want to be on this team? Should I look to ask for a move at the middle of the season, or even at the end of the season, or prepare for the end of the season and look to make a move there? Various large teams have been looking in for some time now. I know Manchester United looked at them. I know Real Madrid looked at them. I think possibly even Barcelona had looked at him at one point. But let's face some facts. Barcelona kind of looks at everybody, right? But he's been linked to so many bigger clubs, but he's still here. One of the unfortunate no signs for West Ham, I think, in my opinion, is not being able to grab the likes of Jesse Lingard, who ultimately really adds a different dimension to this team when he was on it with these players. I think had Jesse Lingard gone to West Ham instead of Nottingham Forest, I think that he would have been a much better how do you say, option for them to have in the attacking midfield. Whereas right now it looks like the team is just falling short everywhere, even with some of those quality players that they do have. So, I mean, hopefully they can find a piece of ground to really stand on, because right now they're just falling, and it's a shame. They've been up here for a little bit now in the Premier League, and it would be a shame to see them go down. As far as for Everton, again, they look to be finding their footing. Iobi will be a very key instrument in how they go forward from here. I think that his play and guys play in the middle will really allow them to exploit Iwobi's offensive attributes to try to generate more opportunities to score for the team. But again, it's going to have to be a very, very big team play in order for them to be successful. Yeah, and that wraps up this week's recap on all the games that took place. Unfortunately, my co-host Ivan was not able to make it. And hopefully he'll be on for the next show. But we had some pretty interesting and good games over this past weekend. Um, we'll see what happens with these postponed games. There's 2 weeks before the next set of games come out. So within those 2 weeks, we're going to try and break down some of these, most of these teams and their rosters to get a little more insight on what they're looking to do, what they can do better, things like that. If you like our content, we have other shows that go on. We have some hockey going on. We have football starting soon. We're going to be doing some MLB. And when I say football, American football, outside of obviously our football, soccer. So yeah, if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about the games. Tell me what you think about the influential players on the teams that are doing well, and even some of the influential players that on the teams that are not doing well. Tell me what you think, where these teams are going to fall in the whole standing. I mean, let's take a quick look before I go. Let's take a look at the table. Arsenal still on top. I mean, by a point, but they're still on top. Man City, Tottenham. Like I said, Tottenham's finding their rhythm. They're up there as well. Brighton, they didn't play this week, but they're holding fourth. Manchester United found a way to get stay in fifth. Fulham, they're proving that there's something to be reckoned with. I mean, they're there in sixth place, and they're 1 point behind Manchester United. Can they continue their good form and find a way to overtake them and get into the top five? Chelsea didn't play this weekend. They had their struggles. Liverpool, same thing. They're looking for a way to get back up to the top five, or at least the top four. After that, the middle of the table, teams that should be in the middle of the table are here. Obviously, it's a very close race from basically the number 4 seed all the way down to the number 17 seed. Literally, about 5 points separating everybody. So there's still a lot of game left. Some of these teams didn't play this week. Obviously, they're gonna reschedule those games, and then we'll really see where everybody sits. But I mean, take a look at this middle of the table. All these teams should be here. They should be fighting for these spots. This West Ham and Leicester, surprisingly at the bottom. Even Crystal Palace and the Wolves, they shouldn't be this low. They have better quality. They should be a little bit higher. If anything, I was expecting Southampton to fall down a little bit, and maybe even Bournemouth being a little bit lower. And I mean, Leeds is a little bit of a different team. They lost Rafinha to Barcelona. Rodrigo's taking a lot on his shoulders, but they're finding a way, and that's what you have to do when you're in the Premier League. You got to find a way. You can't lose yourself because you had a bad game. And these teams down here, it's not that they've lost themselves, but they haven't been able to find themselves either. And that is a troubling thing. Leicester's been here for a while. It's sad to see them this far down. It just continuously keeps getting worse for them. They have 1 point after 7 games. That is a very sad state for any club. Nottingham Forest expected. You would hope that they can do more, but they did just come up from the championship. It's a different game. It's a different speed. There's a lot more quality in all the other teams. So they're trying to build to get a grasp of the speed of the game, the toughness and everything else, and hopefully be able to really figure out how to go forward from here. West Ham, I mean, again, another team that should not be this far down. This is unexcusable as a club. Between Leicester and West Ham, you guys are disappointing your fans right now. I know it's a tough league. A lot of teams are good, but You guys are underperforming. You guys have a lot more quality than you're giving yourselves credit for. Obviously, your supporters, I know, are not happy, and it's tough. It's very tough. But yeah, that was a recap for the week. Again, please like and subscribe to the channel if you like what you've seen. I'll leave any comments on any team you would like me to take a look at, review. I will be reviewing most of the teams, if not all the teams, and their current rosters and what I think they can do and where they may sit at the end of the season. And yeah, thank you for watching another episode of the Locker Room Fuut Goals. And I'm for Jardo1BW. Peace.
How you make this, Jay?